Jupiter Broadcasting presents this program in stereo. This episode brought to you in part by GoDaddy.com.
This week on the Linux Action Show, there's a new distro in town and it is here to disrupt. Find out if this upstart distribution is on the path to become the new king of the land or fade into obscurity. Plus, is Canonical too focused on the netbook? And why WebOS just might be the MeeGo killer? All this week on the Linux Action Show! And welcome to the Linux Action Show. This is season 17, episode 3. That's like 5 million episodes and 3. 5 million and 3 episodes, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This is the show where my name is Brian and that guy is Chris.
Hey
this
there,
is that
Brian.
show. You know, you've been at school, you've been at work. People are like, you heard about the show.
That's the show with those two
where
guys.
the guy's name is Brian and the other guy's name is This Is That Show.
And they talk about Linux. And
Wait, what do we do?
check this out, Brian. The modular tactical system runs Linux.
I want that and I don't know what it is.
This modular tactical system is, it's like human augmentation in the early forms, B-Man. You figure it's a whole uniform network system that includes a GPS module, a tactical vest, a universal tactical display touchscreen, and also a tactical I.O. hub. All this kind of stuff, B-Man. And you know what? All networked with Linux.
That's rad.
Yep. Yeah, so this is, sometimes we get accused of being a little military happy here. It's not so much that, it's just, it's great to see Linux in all kinds of tech.
All kinds of things. I mean, come on. I mean, how many days in a row can you hear about, oh my gosh, this new Chrome OS powered netbook run Linux? It's not that interesting, guys. I mean, sure, it's great to see more laptops running Linux. I love that. That makes me happy. But this is like a whole new deal. You know what I'm saying?
This is pretty cool.
This is badassery to the
Plus,
maximus.
who doesn't like a good tactical vest, man? Everybody wants to have, look at this thing. It flips down. Linux computer right in there.
Here's the problem I have. My tactical vest at home, running DOS. It's just, it's one of those deals. What else can I do?
Let's be honest. When you get yourself an RBVA MTS tactical vest and or pack,
yep,
you sink a good amount of money into that.
You want it to be running Linux.
It's an investment.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Mine, Craigslist tactical vest. To be fair, it looks like it's mostly made with duct tape. But it's still a tactical vest. And when I wear it, I walk down the street and I inform everyone I meet that I'm wearing a tactical vest.
At least you get to walk around carrying your flare. It does get that job done.
Again, though, it's just running DOS.
Now, I've got one of my favorite Android apps I've ever made a pick coming up for the show.
Not a chance.
Seriously. And I think you have got, as your Linux pick, possibly...
I've got something that's pretty cool.
Well, I won't give it away. But before we go on...
GoDaddy.com has got you covered with domain names starting as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy tech support, and access to GoDaddy Hosting Connection, the easiest way to install a bunch of different things onto your website that you have on the internet. And I forgot all the rest of the words. But if you type in Linux, you get 10% off of the thing. And then type in Linux 20, you get 20% off of the thing.
That's true.
But here's the thing. You have to have it using with the right thing. Use it with the wrong thing, you don't get anything. Sometimes...
I'd say here's your general rule of thumb.
lay it on me.
Am I ordering anything but shared hosting? Then I use the code Linux. Am I using hosting and I want to save 20%? Then I use the code Linux 20. It's a pretty simple rule. Whoa.
I just sneezed.
I know. Well, that's because you got... What people don't know about Brian is, I
am allergic to people not using the code Linux. And I felt like someone just bought something from GoDaddy and forgot to type that in.
Brian,
that's leaving money on the table.
You're not a Smallville viewer, but as a Smallville fan, I learned that Clark Kent's fire eyes is triggered by him becoming aroused. And he sneezes. He has an allergy attack. And I'm just saying, we just happen to have Danica up on the screen.
Is that what's going on with me?
You could be Superman.
Holy moly.
You might be Superman.
I love Superman.
There you go. So use our code Linux at checkout or Linux20 to save 20%. And thank you to GoDaddy for their longtime sponsorship of the show. Now, bless you, sir.
I tell you what.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that the early part of summer is a real jerk.
It's rough on you,
It's rough. Here's the thing. You go ahead and give your
All right.
Android pick.
Okay. Well, here you go. So my Android pick this week. You can
No. I want your Android pick. Lay it on me.
Check this thing out, man. So this is called Tap2. Now, you go
right.
ahead and you play with it while I talk about it with the folks. So now Tap2 is, if you're familiar with Pulse Newsreader, it's like Pulse Newsreader, only like 100... God, man. Only like 100 times better. You can rearrange and mix, and you can do sort of like DJ playlists of your news.
This
and
actually
things
does
like
look
that.
really cool.
It does. And look, I've also done something where, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the live stream, guys, but when I scroll through here, I've got like certain news sections. Hi there. I've got certain news sections that are larger than other news sections, and you can bring like multiple streams. So I could bring like Mashable and Ars Technica into one condensed stream on here, and then you can then you just scroll through. And Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle, B-Man.
I do like that.
You like Bob?
Oh, here we go.
Whoa.
Whoa,
And
guys.
plus sound effects. Sound effects.
Oh, no, that was me.
Oh, that was... Oh. Well, that's not so
Whoa.
handy. So it's Tap2. That's the name of it. It's Tap2 DJ Your News. And you can get that with the links in the show notes. And people ask me, yes, there is a link to all of the picks we have made. It is in the show notes.
It's in the show notes. And Chris, I gotta tell you, right up front here, big guy.
Oh,
that
Brian. I use that shoulder for stuff.
Yeah, well, not any longer. I got to apologize.
Oh.
Now, at first I was thinking this is going to be great. I'm going to blow my nose through your Android app pick because you know what? Come on. Android, whatever. I'm a Linux guy. Whatever. Android, Java apps, whatever. But here you go. Pulling out this Android app pick is actually kind of cool.
It's a decent
now
one,
I
Brian.
feel bad blowing my nose throughout your entire app pick
It's
because
probably-
you pulled out an awesome one.
It's probably the best newsreader I've ever used on Android. And are you ready for this, B-Man? Honeycomb support. Effing Honeycomb support. So if you're a new Honeycomb user and you want an app that fully takes advantage of your tablet real estate,
Oh, really?
Tap2, you got it.
That's awesome.
For a newsreader app, actually, I think tablet interface is really nice.
You really
nice.
can't. That's tight. That's tight. All right,
B-Man, let's move
Linux
on.
app pick time.
Linux app pick.
All right, I'm gonna do one that's maybe a little mundane, but quite awesome mundane. I feel
B-Man, it's not mundane at all.
it's an email client.
This is something everybody needs.
Everyone needs a good email client. Thunderbird's awesome. Evolution's awesome. There's a lot of Kmail. I mean, there's a lot of great email clients.
No,
come
there's
on,
not.
come
No,
on.
come on.
There are good email clients.
No.
Those are all good stuff. However, they're kind of ugly.
Yeah, and they're sometimes
and
a
they're
little cluttered.
They're a little cluttered. They're a little bloated. It's just not
Yeah.
a simple email client. Like if you were to sit down and plop in front of, just about anybody, a lot of times they're going to look at Thunderbird and they're going to be like, what the hell's going on
overwhelming.
here? Well, enter Postler.
Yeah, I like this.
Postler is a simply very clean, very elegant, very simple email client. It has some decent features. It's missing a lot of the great big features that you get out of, Evolution for sure.
Probably like Exchange support or
Yeah,
something.
I don't think any of that's in there. But if you just have a simple Popper IMAP, email account somewhere and you want to set up a nice client to handle it, it works really, really well. It looks nice.
It
works
looks real
nice.
clean. Looks nice.
Yeah, it looks great. You're seeing the screenshot here. The screenshot is from Elementary OS, which is kind of like the home OS for this
Kind of
email
where
client.
it kind of first started seeing
It's
it.
part of the Elementary project.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Now, the Elementary OS guys, you might remember as the guys who named their first OS
Jupiter.
release Jupiter,
Yeah.
because they thought we were pretty.
Maybe
I'm
they
assuming.
love us.
I
I would
Well,
assume.
they think we're pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, love doesn't have anything to do with it. More of a lust deal.
That's fair.
They think we're pretty.
Totally fine by me.
So this is a really cool email client. It's fast. It's quick. It looks nice. And
Postler.
I've only been using it for about a week, but it hasn't screwed up on me.
Well, that's good.
And that makes me happy.
That is good.
Yeah.
So Postler, right?
Postler. Now, there's no great Postler website I was able to find, so I put in the show notes a link to the Launchpad website for it, so you can grab it there. Otherwise, you can go over to elementaryos.org, and they have information as well. You can grab the source code from there if you want. I'm assuming it's in a couple of different repos at this point, but honestly, I haven't checked. So you're on your own to find it.
Ooh.
But very, very cool little email client.
Cool. Let us know how it goes. I'll see if I can't find it like in a repo somewhere.
Yeah.
I likes me a new email client.
Well, you're running Mint right now, right?
I am.
You're running Mint, so you can just go up to Launchpad and grab it from there. So you're good.
I'm set.
You can PPA that sucker.
I will, man. I
you
will.
probably will.
All right, B-Man. Let's do the news.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian, our top story on the news docket for this week. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. Canonical, not to be outdone by all the other guys in the cloud business, announces Ensemble.
Ensemble?
Ensemble.
All right, what's Ensemble?
The former COO, I think he was, or maybe CTO of Ubuntu, Matt Asay.
Matt Asay of Canonical.
Matt Asay, yep. He offers probably what is one of the most coherent, succinct answers to this, though I would still argue that it's not that coherent and all that succinct. He says that Ensemble is a hugely ambitious, now he's quoting Canonical here, I believe, service deployment and orchestration tool which enables the same kind of collaboration and ease of use which today is seen around package management to happen on a higher level around services. What does it mean? He says think apt for the cloud.
What the hell would that be?
I don't know.
I love apt.
Me too.
What would apt for the cloud be?
Maybe
Here's
like
the
some
thing.
sort of universal distro store.
Here's the thing. Apt's already kind of in the cloud. You're already
Yeah, that's
grabbing
true.
stuff from repositories.
Yeah, that's true.
So apt for the cloud. For the cloud! What does that mean?
I don't know, but Matt...
But I tell you this much, though. Hugely ambitious, man.
Matt, if you recall, Matt left Canonical in December after being there since its founding, and he wrote a rather scathing write-up over on the Register,
Yeah.
saying that essentially that Canonical, wake the F up, the netbook is dead. He says that Canonical is constantly distracted by things like going after a netbook in a market which is now failing. He attributes that to, tablets. He cites an IDC report here, which clearly shows the netbooks are actually declining. This study came out on June 6th of this year.
I don't really see Canonical doing all that much in the netbook space, though. Like they don't even have an official netbook version anymore,
you recall they just struck that big deal with Asus.
Yeah, but what's wrong with a couple of deals?
He says that when he was there internally, he noticed this real obsession with the netbook.
Oh, they just really dug it.
They just think that's the future of Linux.
Honestly, I think netbooks are awesome. I still do.
Yeah, but they're not like the product you want to hitch the success of your company to right now.
No, but I mean, come on, Canonical's not doing that.
He goes on to argue that they're just extremely distracted all of the time. It's kind of interesting, I don't want to say scathing, but it's an interesting critique of something that I've kind of observed a little bit. He goes on to argue that they need more focus. He manages to put in some observations into words that I before couldn't quite draw a conclusion to what was bothering me, and I've always felt like Canonical does kind of seem like the Linux desktop is a big focus of theirs, but it's one of many focuses.
Yeah, that's true. They're kind of all over the map. They've got multiple online services that they kind of are pimping. They've got different versions of it. Yeah, I kind of get that. I see where you're going with that one.
So it's an interesting read.
I still don't know what the heck Ensemble is, though.
I know, right? It's kind of interesting. I guess really that Ubuntu's going on to make efforts. He wrote up a blog post back in December of 2009. They got republished on CNET News, and in it he basically went on to say that. He just doesn't see this going in the right direction, and he had concerns back in 2009. He outlines them here, and I don't know. I guess he was hoping that he could bring discipline and focus, and I guess that just didn't work out for him.
Oh,
outline there, interesting read.
Interesting
read to something
smart
about
guy.
Something about the internals of a distro that we all follow all the time. But
for sure,
let's move on to something that's kind of interesting. A little MeeGo news. It's been a little bit. We went a couple episodes without talking about MeeGo,
which is weird.
It is weird. So in this episode, we're a little discussion that came out. I want to say Monday or Tuesday after the last Linux Action Show came out. Nokia's CTO, Richard Green, is on leave after getting in a reported MeeGo spat with Stephen Elop, the guy who's running Nokia now. I guess he's... now, this is coming from a report of interviews of employees at Nokia. So it's while from people at Nokia, it's still hearsay in a sense.
And everything I've ever watched, like I've seen a couple of video interviews with Richard Green in the past. He seemed like a really smart, like on the ball guy.
Yeah. Well, and Richard Green, if you watch the interviews, he's like, MeeGo is still coming. You're going to see a product from us. We're not going away. I guess, now the rumor is that this is where the controversy, this is where the sort of issues between Elop and him started to create. Is Elop was saying, hey, don't tell people we're still working on MeeGo. We want to be focusing on Windows 7 right now. That's our product strategy. We want the consumers to think we're a Windows 7 top to bottom shop.
That's their
we're 100% dedicated.
Right now. Yeah.
Stop talking about MeeGo.
Right.
And he said, I'm not going to stop talking about MeeGo. And
oops.
Now he's on leave.
He's resolving a leave of absence to resolve any quote personal matter.
Yeah.
Right.
So when Nokia was questioned directly on the personal matter, they literally said something like, "Oh, we think he has some family stuff." It was so obvious that what's going on there.
Yeah.
So it's too bad. It really does seem like Intel is now the sole flame holder of MeeGo. Hopefully, I'd love to hear Nokia correct us on this, but this kind of stuff does not.
It really does look that way. I mean, it looks like the people who are in Nokia that really want to see MeeGo be a success just don't have the power to make it happen anymore.
Yeah.
That's the impression I'm getting anyway, which is a bummer for me because I look at Intel and I like Intel. I have nothing against Intel, but their history and their track record of actually shipping Linux distributions
have a focus problem
and support of it. Yeah, it just like, come on, Moblin. Look at Moblin. Really, they finished Moblin. What did they do with it? Nothing. And then they're like, never mind. Let's do MeeGo. It's essentially Moblin, but we're just going to hang out for a while. I mean, they just don't really do anything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They just kind of, they make cool tech. They invest in cool projects, and I never see them go anywhere, and that bums me out.
Well, they're a chip company.
I know. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
They're
make
a chip
chips,
company,
yep.
so I don't really fault them for it.
I love chips, Brian.
I feel like MeeGo and Moblin, those are all side things.
They are to facilitate the sales of chips.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they don't facilitate the sales of chips, the project goes away.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
it bums me out.
And it could be, what MeeGo's real challenge could be is, honestly, reports say MeeGo isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And our testing has shown MeeGo isn't there yet.
It's not there yet. It's getting cool, but it's not there yet.
But it's on like this slow growth path of getting there, while Intel's new generations of processors that they're trying to compete with the ARMs to make it in tablets are also on the a more accelerated trajectory at this point. And you have to wonder if MeeGo doesn't make it to usability at the time that these new low-end processors...
What's going to be the system?
Then why wouldn't Apple and Motorola and Samsung, why wouldn't they just start using these Intel chips? And now they're selling Intel chips in tablet forms, and now MeeGo is not really needed to sell these chips anymore.
No.
So...
Yeah, MeeGo seems to me, and I like MeeGo, it seems to me like an OS to fix a problem that doesn't necessarily exist yet.
Right. I got two more OSs just like that, and I thought we'd run down. So both HP and Chrome put out top 10 lists, sort of targeted more towards developers, saying, this is why our OS is going to win. This is why Chrome OS will beat all others.
And this is why WebOS
And then HP's like, yep, this is why WebOS. Hey, geeks, this is why you want to use WebOS. So I thought, neither one of us has read it yet.
Yeah, I haven't read these.
But both of these are kind of in the same position MeeGo's in. So let's see what these guys have to say. So let's start. I believe Google was first with theirs. So we'll start with Google.
Okay, we'll start with Google.
Top 10 reasons, Brian, why Chromebooks will be a huge success.
Okay, right? lay it on me.
Number 1, backing from vendors. They say one reason that Ubuntu has failed was because they had a company like Microsoft, a big company that could come in and make deals.
Is this actually a list from Google?
No. The one from HP is from HP, but this one is not from Google.
Okay, so this is just like a third-party person saying why. Okay,
right. But but I just thought it would work well with the HP response, so we'll go with it. So they say essentially one of the Achilles heels to Linux was that a big bankrolling company like Microsoft could come in and say, here, Asus, here's a $100 million check. Let's do runs better with Windows.
Well, wait a minute.
So now Google can make those same kind of offers with Chromebooks.
But with Ubuntu, I mean, we've got backing from like Dell and stuff.
But what
is it that Chrome OS has that Canonical didn't?
Because I don't think Dell would turn down a $100 million check from Microsoft not to ship an Ubuntu laptop. I don't know, maybe. I don't know, but they're saying...
It didn't happen, though.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's the thing.
All right, point made.
Yeah.
Number 2, faster boot up times. Oh, come on.
Seriously?
Come on.
Seriously? Every OS for the last 27 years has said, new feature, faster boot up time.
Number 3, another option for frustrated Windows users from viruses, fragmentation, malware, crapware, bloating, blue screens of death. Windows has it all. Chromebooks don't. Yeah, isn't that true? Apps galore, Brian. Boy, this is bad. Android Encore, Web Addicts, boy, low price, good battery life. Okay, good points. And if you're a web addict, it is the ultimate online web app experience.
And apps galore. Where's all the apps galore
web apps.
Oh, so just websites.
Yeah,
not web apps.
So like
you can go to Gmail.
Yeah, like you can in every web browser. So
there's no apps.
So what
they're saying is Chromebooks have no apps.
So there is a super bad argument for I actually was hoping this would sort of I was hoping this would give me...
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it anymore at all.
I buy it less now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like if this is the kind of person that writes this list that wants a Chromebook, I obviously don't want one.
I don't buy it either because the reasons were so weak.
Made up. This is totally weak.
And look at all these people who love it.
They're like, oh my gosh, retweet it. This is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So all right, now let's go through the web OS.
What's HP got to say? Now this is official, right?
This is from HP's developer blog. The old Palm site, which is now sort of turned into the destination for WebOS development and things like that. 10 reasons for geeks to love WebOS, Brian.
Okay, ready.
Number 1, it's free. That's pretty good. That's pretty compelling.
There's no cost to be a developer.
Yep, and you can get the
all
SDK
the tools
for
are
free. Yep.
Yeah. All right, that's fine. I mean, that's not really all that different from maybe like a Chrome OS though. But
all right, how about this? Number 2, we give you full access to your device.
All right, that is awesome. Actually,
yeah.
Actually, so that's
you don't have to jailbreak. You don't have to root. You are root.
Honestly, that's a one-up from even Maemo devices, because even Maemo devices you won't root by default. So you don't get this with Chrome. You don't get this with Android. You obviously don't get this with iPhone.
Right. You don't. I mean, with Android.
All right, that is
Android's
actually
harder and harder
reason.
to root some phones too. Although HTC just recently had some good things to say about that. Number 3, Brian. It's Linux.
It basically, once you're in dev mode, it's just Linux and WebKit.
Yeah. Which we were kind of discussing. Was it on the live stream or was it on the show?
I think it was on the live stream.
That WebKit, that's one of the actual problems that we both have with WebOS is that it's
web apps.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do native applications, but most are web apps.
Number 4, Brian. For WebOS, a lot of familiar technologies. They use languages and APIs you already know, HTML and CSS.
Okay, that's kind of a red area there. Come on, so does every platform. No, come on. Google didn't come out with the Chrome OS and it's like, okay, everyone,
new language,
or you have to develop it in Haskell or something. Like, there's no archaic languages. There's no new languages. Everyone's using something kind of normal.
I agree. Okay, number 5. The source is easy to find.
Oh,
that's true for Android too. They say that the in-ROM apps are all in /user/palm/applications.
See, that is actually kind of cool because the apps it ships with, you have all the source code for.
I
so you
really
can
like
tinker
that.
with them.
Actually, that is really cool.
That's pretty slick. I mean, you can already do most of that on the Android side of things.
Well, no, I mean, all of the Google apps are totally proprietary.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure like their market app is an open source and stuff like that, but
a large chunk of
you can try cutting edge stuff. Doing background work on your devices is pretty easy. Apps can be bundled with services based on Node.js. JavaScript apps can have a native code using hybrid PDK model.
Yep.
Where the code runs as a plugin.
Yep. So you can build something in C++ and run it native.
Number 8, our developer support is awesome, and they cite their forums and their developer blog and stuff like that.
All right, to be fair, their developer support is actually pretty awesome.
And then number 9, WebOS Homebrew rocks. We have an awesome independent developer community like WebOS internals that does things like replacement kernels, new system services, and overclocking tools. Our community produces innovations that have made their way into later WebOS releases. For example, page cache compression, and which improved in WebOS 1.4.5, and they made it part of the standard Linux kernel on WebOS 2.0.
Now here, I actually want to call this out a little bit because this to me is the number one reason that WebOS is cool.
Yeah.
Android is very cool. Most of it's open source.
Yeah.
People make custom Android ROMs all the time. If you go over to the HDA forums and whatnot, you can find some great XDA forums. You can find some great stuff. It's purely awesome.
Yeah.
However, there's no real direct support from Google on that. They're not really actively involved in that. And in fact, they sometimes are a little annoyed by it because it limits
a good example
their ability
is
to make money.
the new some of the new issues on the marketplace with rooted devices, like with the Netflix app and stuff like that, and also Google Music. And it's just, there's sometimes the users who root out or go outside the box kind of pay a little bit of a penalty tax in a sense, a usability tax.
Yes.
Awesome that on the official WebOS developer blog, they're calling out the fact that they support that.
Yes, specifically, and they kind
of have to,
and they love it. The fact that
Microsoft is doing it too, though. Let's be fair.
Hewlett Packard, they're like, we love this. We want people tinkering. We want people building new patches. We want people helping us to improve the whole.
The underdogs do that. I mean, Windows Phone 7 team is also the Windows Phone 7 team has flown at some of the guys that have done the jailbreaking given them software tools and things like that. So giving them devices, it's really cool. Though that's just kind of the behavior of the underdog. Though with a system that's Linux-based with a lot of open source code, I think that behavior is a little more innate anyways. I could see like Windows Phone 7, if it somehow became one of the dominant OS.
Closing it up
I don't think that would happen here because with the way this whole operating system is structured, once the gate's open, it's GPL code, the gate's open.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so at number 10, the last one on the list here, B-Man.
Ready for it.
Your open source project can make a difference. Many of our best applications are open source, available either our app catalog or through Homebrew channels. Oh, I like they have Homebrew channels too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's really nice. You can subscribe to Homebrew software channels. Yep. People have already ported over a bunch of Linux games using our SDL system, and there are efforts to bring lots of languages and tools to the platform. If you're an expert importing some important bits of Linux technology, there's likely a niche for you in the world of WebOS. That's a great list.
That's good. Yeah, see, honestly, that's a good list. A few of the items, I was like, whatever, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But honestly, for the most part, that's actually a compelling
They
argument.
really sold me with the homebrew stuff. I love that aspect of my Android, but I do kind of have to jump through hoops. Love the
And the
idea
fact that they are all about it. They want to give you a big hug for wanting to tweak your systems.
they go out and they talk about the
Root by default, right in there.
I know.
Full access to the
Linux
device.
top to bottom, not an emulated
And
environment.
that's like the goal. I love that. I love that. Now, that said,
So
I still don't have a WebOS phone.
Well, we're going to see a WebOS tablet really soon, and WebOS on a tablet could be some hot
that
stuff.
could be really slick.
And I actually
really
think for hardcore Linux fans, honestly, it's sounding more like a WebOS tablet is the way to go. And I'm kind of thankful I haven't picked up a Honeycomb tablet,
You know what? I am kind of too.
because this might be the tablet for me.
It could be.
We'll see. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I really dig it. I would love to see like a WebOS distro that for like netbooks.
HP has always been really cool.
I
with
know
Linux.
netbooks aren't cool, but I think they're cool. I still like.
Oh, a netbook.
A netbook WebOS?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be great?
I think they're gonna do
especially a touchscreen one like my Lenovo.
They showed a
that'd be great.
slide 6 months
Great.
ago with a netbook with a WebOS logo on it. So I could see it. I don't think they're trying to limit it to one type of interface. So
God, I would love it if they would like support a community endeavor to build a WebOS distro
Why not?
for the Triple E's
Why
and
not?
Lenovo netbooks
why
in the
would
world.
they? I mean, I think they totally could. It sounds like
It would
they
be
would.
awesome.
I just wanted to wrap up this story before we go through two lightning stories. Is HP, I think, has shown for now a long time established support for Linux. And honestly, they've been really cool to the show over the years. They've hooked us
They
up
have.
with review gear over the years, and their engineers have been available where we've needed to do follow-up questions and stuff like that. They've been totally open to talking.
We've even
with
gotten
us.
prototype gear from them.
Yeah. So I mean, we have seen personally HP be really cool with the Linux community. So this is really exciting.
You know, I've actually always been really impressed. You know, HP is one of those huge mega companies, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and you know, with the mega companies,
There's always aspects you're not going to be a
there's
big fan
always aspects you're not going to be a big fan of, and a lot of times they're kind of hard to interact with. Like if you
True.
want to call up Microsoft and hang out with them, who do you talk to say, okay, let's talk to you about this specific gear? Sometimes it's kind of hard to get that
We've
working.
tried to make a contact. We were going to ask them about, I forget what it was, but there was a news story, and there was contact us for licensing information, and we tried to contact them,
Yeah,
and it was just...
it was hard. Google's hard to contact
Yeah,
that
oh
way,
boy.
man. Because with Google and
like
the
talking to a
Honeycomb
wall.
source code, I couldn't even. I sent so many emails,
Shouting
made
at a wall,
phone
man.
calls. I couldn't get it through to them. With HP, I'll like throw an email, and literally everyone in HP, they're just like, oh, someone's emailing us. Well, I'm not the right person, but. Well, I think Cheryl might know who's
And
right,
that-
and I'll
I have
get
had
this
that
email
happen.
back,
Yep.
and they'll have forwarded on like 8 times until
Yeah.
it found the right person,
Yeah.
and then they contacted me.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to see that sort of thing. And here's the other thing. HP has a long lineage and history in the Unix world, with HP UX being a big deal
Yeah.
for years and years and years. And to me, that shows that they're interested in this side of things. They're
Absolutely.
interested in the non-Windowsy,
Well, it's good to have a
non-Mac-y
company
world.
like a
That's
company
nice.
could have come along and acquired Palm and just totally not understand Linux and totally not understand open source. And just want them for their hardware, their brand.
Yep.
You know, really want them for the brand and really
and user base.
yeah,
and call it good.
and just call it good right there. And we see that happen a lot. And so it's good to see a company take this on. And then once they take it on, not staying quiet about what they're doing, not keeping it under wraps like we've seen Novell with XGL where they keep
Yeah.
it under wraps until they're ready to unveil it. It's like, you guys are kind of missing some of the core concepts here. HP, though, here's the source code. Here's how you hack it. And look, we're promoting it.
Yeah, it's way cool. It's way cool.
Really
They've done
cool.
some really good stuff, and I still don't have a WebOS phone.
I know.
What is that? I think it's a great system. I just don't have one.
I don't like any of the hardware. I
think that's what it
it's
is
like-
for me
it's
too.
like having
I love the software.
It's like having all of the downsides of a phone with a keyboard, but the keyboard is completely unusable. What I mean by the downsides, I mean like the bulk and size.
yeah.
If you could get that same phone but with a usable keyboard, oh man.
Man,
that-
if I could put WebOS on like my N900, I would flip.
if I could put it on my Galaxy, that would be really awesome.
Dude,
This-
on that Galaxy,
see-
that would be just rock.
If there was a WebOS device out there that was this Galaxy S with WebOS on it, I guarantee you I'd want that.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, all right. Let's do a couple lightning round stories, B-Man, before we move on to our Ping OS review. Ping Guy OS?
Pingy?
Ping-
Pingui?
I
don't know.
It's I want to give a shout out to another distro called Peppermint OS. This showed up in my news feed and was recommended to me by a few folks, and also on Twitter it was recommended to me. So I had to go check it out. Now I haven't had a chance to try it yet,
Me neither.
but
Looks nice.
it does look really nice, and it's kind of gotten a little bit of buzz for being really high performance, super nice, slick, out of the box, works, all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff what actually Ping Guy OS is getting props for. Anyways, good looking OS just hit their latest release, and you can download it, of course, And they say it'll only take you about 10 minutes to go through the install. It's one of their claims of fame.
And it looks nice. It looks great. I mean,
I'd be curious to try that.
I think it's based on Lubuntu.
Oh.
I think. Don't quote me on that
I
one.
honestly haven't tried it, but
I
I've
was
got...
reading through something. It looked like it was based on Lubuntu and then heavily modified.
I've heard
but
so many good
That might be
things.
wrong. I could be way off on
It's got
that.
a nice... And I am a fan of dark themes. It's got a nice, dark, clean theme.
It's nice.
So I guess I'll put this out there. If you guys think this is one that we should try reviewing here on the Linux Action Show, let us know, and we'll give it a look. Now, one last lightning round story here, B-Man. NetRex!
Yeah. All right.
A variant of the
NetRex.
Rex scripting language.
It's open source now. And this is awesome. And I don't know if any of you guys are Rex people out there, but Rex is a scripting language that was very popular on OS2. I'm an old OS2 developer. This pleases me greatly. And if you're an Amiga guy, you know about Rex as well.
Oh, okay.
Big time in the Amiga world.
Okay.
Now, IBM's had this under wraps for a long time. Not under wraps, but, it's theirs. NetRex is a version of Rex. It's awesome. It's
It
a great
compiles as
language.
Java bytecode. It can run on any JVM, even on Google's Android Dalvik VM.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Created at the end of the 1970s.
It's a great language. It's a lot of fun, and it's now open source.
It's going to be under the ICU license, a variant of the MIT license.
Yeah, it's basically MIT licensed, which is great. I have a whole lot to add about this. Other than it's
IBM
very
speaks
cool.
of it as an effective alternative to the Java language in its documentation.
I like Rex a lot.
That's pretty ballsy. I like that.
I think it's great. Honestly, if I had to choose, just purely on like the joy of using it, Rex is much more fun to use than Java is, or a lot of other languages. It's just a very.
I don't think
fun
I've ever
language
really
to
heard you
use.
call a language fun to use.
It's fun. It's
fun.
a lot of fun. To
Yeah.
me, it's a lot like small talk that way, where it's very fun.
Okay.
Which, if any small talk developers out there, you know what I'm talking about. It's fun to
Yeah, you
tinker
have
with and
called that fun
experiment.
before, too, yeah.
So Rex is great. Highly recommend checking it out. I expect over the next year we'll see a lot more you can do with Rex on the Linux side of things now that it's open source.
I bet, dude.
That's my hope.
Cool. And of course, links to every story we covered are in the show notes for this episode over at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
That is so convenient with the internet now.
I know, right, big man?
Yes.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week.
As you may recall, it is no longer big distro release season.
God, that feels good, right?
Which is good because we no longer have to review a new version of Ubuntu that only this time I was going to say Ubuntu only revved Firefox, but really this time they did all sorts of crazy
That's
stuff.
true. They really
But
kind of went up.
no more major distros.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about the small guys that are doing weird, crazy stuff,
Yep.
or just kind of breaking out onto their own, which is really, really exciting for me.
I want
Let's talk about this one.
Let's talk about Pinguy OS, B-Man.
Or
Now,
Pinguy?
Pinguy?
Pinguy OS.
Now, this was pointed out to us after one of the major things I heard from our feedback from Linux Mint 11 review last week's episode was if you liked Linux Mint 11, check out Pinguy OS. You're probably going to really like it.
I've heard that a couple of times now.
And I want to say thanks to the people who sent that suggestion because it has been a lot of fun to check out this OS. Now, I will say my review is probably a little brief because I've only just started looking at it in the last... I'm about a day and a half into it. And then another thing we got is check out a Mahi home server. Have you seen this?
This thing is fantastic. And now we'll be talking about this.
We're going to talk about it later. We'll make an episode out of this.
So,
but I want to say thanks for sending this in, too.
This ties into what we've been talking about with the cloud.
Yep.
So we were originally going to be doing a big thing on the cloud today, but honestly, we've gotten so much feedback. This Amahi one was really just, a game changer.
This could
all
be
by
a game
itself.
changer completely.
The guys from Amahi have been sending me press releases and sending me information about it, and I've been reading them, and I've been starting to hear some stories about how people use this. What this is a Fedora-based Linux distribution, which we immediately forgave.
You have to forgive that, but you install Fedora. You install Fedora yourself.
You install Fedora yourself, and they now have an Ubuntu-based version in alpha.
Oh, okay.
So basically what it is, though, is you get this nice little web interface for installing and auto-configuring
check
so
this out.
many tools to build your own home server, and it's really great.
I haven't done it yet, but one of the first things when you get this, and this is totally not related to Pinguy, but we just want to let you guys know this is on our radar now.
This is coming up.
You go through their web interface, and they configure a package for you, and then you, I believe, deploy that on Fedora install.
Yes.
And this thing has apps. This could be the home cloud computing system
It's
we've been talking about.
Phenomenal.
So
Now,
we're going to save that. We're going to cover it. We're going to talk about Ping iOS.
save it a little
episode.
bit. Should we cover that next week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
dude.
cover that next week. This week, though, is Ping Guy.
Yeah. So I have it running here in
Which has
VirtualBox.
nothing to do with cloud computing.
No.
It's just a cool desktop system.
It is a cool desktop system. And now the backgrounds, if there's some boobies that show up or something like that, I guess that'll be a treat for you video watchers. I'm using a plugin that it ships with that automatically rotates the backgrounds from Flickr. I have no idea what it could put up there. So
yeah, it just grabs
little disclaimer.
random internet
Yeah.
pictures, which random internet pictures
That's how I
often
roll.
fun, but not necessarily when you're live streaming out to the world. Not necessarily
Yeah. It's not
friendly for
not
families.
ideal. But so here's the basic desktop, and one of the things you might notice if you have a keen eye is that here, you know what I could show you is check this out. Compiz is working out of the box in a VirtualBox install.
That's
it
great.
came with the VirtualBox editions pre-installed. 3D acceleration works like a champ.
I love that.
This is, if you are familiar with Mint, this is Linux Mint redone, re-envisioned. It's based on Ubuntu. It's based on 11.04 of Ubuntu. And they have sort of like the Mint menu. For example, if I type Chromium in the search bar, right up here comes the Install Chromium option, and I click that, and bam.
That's a great feature.
You'll notice, too, that it brought up the Ubuntu Software Center.
I love that.
So they've integrated one of the I think one of your complaints, and there was a few people in the comments that echoed that, was that the Ubuntu Software Center was missing from Mint 11. Right?
I love
So
that.
this is an Ubuntu redo with the software.
Wait a minute. Now here's where we tell whether or not this is valuable or not. Click for purchase over the side there.
Yeah, it's there.
Click for purchase.
Yep, they got the regular software and
yeah, you can buy
Illumination
stuff.
Software
Illumination
Creator's in
Software
there.
Creator you can buy directly
Fluendo-
from Ping iOS. That
Fluendo
means it's
codec
a
pack.
quality system.
Yeah,
I'm just going to
yeah.
say that right now.
So they definitely take the approach of everything's going to work out of the box. You're going to have your codecs. You're going to have Flash.
Yep.
They include all of the tweak programs, a lot of the ones that say Ubuntu doesn't want you to have. They say, don't use that. It's not necessarily good for your system. If you dig around in here, out of the box, they ship a lot of that stuff. They ship things like Play on Linux. So you can launch Play on Linux and you can install games right from the
do
Play on
they
Linux
really?
wizard. They include support for Microsoft Office. Out of the box, too, B-Man, check this out. If I go let's say I go into my home folder. Okay, and I double click on a .exe. Now I have configured nothing for this to happen. If I double click on a .exe, automatically associated with Wine, and it launches a Windows executable like it's a native application.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, of course. I mean, half of all of us do this anyway, but it takes a bunch of steps. We have
Yeah.
to work to do it, and if it's already done for me,
I believe
fantastic.
this is a primarily single developer, and you can tell because he does some things that I just don't see a lot of big distros willing to take risks on. For example, say I want to go to my Wine folder where I have some Windows apps installed. So I go in my home folder, let's go to /.wine. That's where all your Wine stuff goes with
Yep.
your stock install. If I go there, he includes a little pop-up that comes up that says, this directory is the default Wine/Vineyard configuration area. Just to let you know where you're digging around at is that. And by the way, if you'd like to configure Wine, just click this button, and then he launches the Wine configurator tool that he's included with the distro. And now I'm setting the Wine settings because I simply browse to the Wine directory in my home folder.
That's great.
Isn't that slick?
Yeah.
These are all essentially a series of plugins that he has included and bundled together to make all this stuff just work out of the box.
That's fantastic.
Like this, if you're looking at the video version, we have what would you call that, Brian? Some sort of widget?
It's just like a little desktop
I
widget,
forget the
little
name of it,
applet-
but-
yeah, little indicator thing, but it looks really nice.
The other thing he does out of the box, which I don't have running at the moment, is docs. He has two docs, one on the left, one on the right. The one on the left is like all of your folders. The one on the bottom, sorry, not the right, but the one on the bottom is all of your apps and things like that. I prefer not to go with docs these days, so I turn that off, but it's a nice little configuration he's got. And then all of the other standard things that you come to expect, and then some that you wouldn't, like automatically, boom, VirtualBox is installed. Ubuntu Tweak, this is what I was talking about earlier. You go in here, he's got Ubuntu Tweak already packaged. A lot of guys would not do this because they consider it to be risky or something like that.
Right.
But I've actually never really had that many problems. And so now it's easy, just single click to go through. I can change the settings on the distro. So nice, so easy. If you like Mint, if you are a fan of Mint, this is such a great OS. And I've been following it a little bit. We got links to like the Distro Watch page and stuff like that in the show notes. They got a Facebook page. It does feel a little early days for this distro, but I kind of like that.
It's early days, but I mean, right now, if you look at the DistroWatch page, they're sitting down here at number 31 right now, which honestly is pretty solid.
Pretty good upstart, yeah.
Right below Peppermint, this other OS we just were mentioning.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them coming on up, but really, I mean, that means they're already above things like Pardus and Xubuntu and Archbang.
Oh,
and
interesting.
That's some serious, and Migo. Migo's down at 41. So that's not insignificant. That means some serious people are already jumping all over Pinky OS and really giving it a try, which is really nice to see.
I would say if you're not a fan of some of your stuff coming pre-configured pretty heavily, you might not enjoy this OS. Here's another example.
Yeah.
Firefox 4, and it's actually, I believe, if I go to About here, I believe it's actually the Firefox 5 beta. Yeah. See, this is Firefox 5.0 he shipped with. And then if you go into the add-ons, you'll notice that there's already a good amount of Firefox add-ins preloaded.
Pre-made.
I look at a lot of them in here. I did not install these, but I probably would. I mean, it's things like AdBlock Plus and maybe Download Helper. Gmail this so that way when you click a link in a web page, it goes to Gmail. Flash Aid, so you can remove conflicting Flash installation, which is a common problem on Linux. I've had.
Yep.
Shareaholic, Ubuntu Firefox modifications,
That's great.
all built into Firefox 5. Now, some people don't want to load a desktop and have
Everything
gedit plugins preloaded and GNOME settings with Nautilus preloaded and Firefox preloaded with plugins.
But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you're running Linux, that's all these various Linux distributions are. I mean, all that when you install,
He's just going the extra next level further,
putting the extra polish on it and making the OS his own, which is great. Honestly, I love seeing everything based on Debian or OpenSUSE or what have you, and just customizing it for individual types of people.
Yeah, well, and the way this thing ships, B-Man, it's almost like exactly how I would set it up, minus Dropbox.
That's kind of nice.
And if I wanted to use Ubuntu One, it comes with Ubuntu One pre-installed. Here's a screenshot of it with the docs that I mentioned, so you can see it. It's just using your standard like AWN dock or Docky.
Is it? It looks like Docky.
Yeah, I think it's Docky.
I love Docky.
Yeah, it's got great little 2 docks and
yeah, it's Docky.
Significantly snappier performance than I probably would expect for something so loaded up. You know, I kind of figure like that's sometimes the downsides, but I think that is a bias that I bring from a Windows background. Like when you hear about all this stuff preloaded, you think of software bloat and you think of the registry, but in reality...
But if everything's nice and modular and you don't have to have everything loaded at once...
No, and with package management, if I don't want something, I just
yank it out.
it.
Yeah. Well, away you go.
A couple other little nice...
Now, obviously, this is a GNOME 2 based system.
GNOME 2, yeah, very good point to bring up. This is not a GNOME 3 system or an XFCE system, but this is a more traditional GNOME desktop. And
very interesting.
I think it
looks nice.
I think it's right now the sweet spot, and this is just my opinion, but I think it's the sweet spot of desktop usability. A nice polished GNOME 3.
Latest, highly modified GNOME 2 is kind of a nice spot to be.
I don't have a lot outside of that to say because if you followed our Ubuntu 11.04 review, you get the technical side of things, and if you follow our Mint review, you get a lot of this stuff. Honestly, I'm pulling Mint off my machine and I'm loading this.
You going with this?
I am, and not because Mint's a great release, but this is even better as far as what I already. This has almost more configured than what I've gotten to over the last week on my laptop with Mint.
Really?
Yeah, really it does because I've been so busy I haven't had time to load up a lot of stuff. With this, I pretty much dropped Dropbox on and I'm good to go. You know, so I'm
really.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And plus, you figure with something like this, it's at early days. You get to follow development of a new early distribution.
That is nice.
And something that's limited in resources, that's so early, that's so well polished. Now, that's got to speak in a large part to what a great platform Ubuntu 11.04 must be
is to build upon. Yeah,
it's got to be. You got to give credit where credit's due. But I really think still, this is really, really polished for something this early.
And it's just one guy,
as far as I can tell. I might be wrong on that, but their forums were down over the weekend, so I couldn't really troll there, but I jumped in IRC, and I just tried to confirm, and IRC confirmed it, but I don't know if that was just somebody saying yes. But
Right.
Really interesting. See, now there's a...
You never know what you're going
to get on Flickr. Yeah. Sometimes you get a girl in overalls with one of her things undone.
Yeah.
But she's got a real nice flower blouse on.
Let's just leave that up the rest of the show.
So that's our review. Really, it's a pretty succinct review of Ping iOS, but I absolutely wholeheartedly recommend it, and again... Thanks to you who left comments on last week's episode, I was able to go track this down and try it out. And now I'm totally infatuated with it. And not just because it puts pretty girls on my desktop.
I mean, hell, this thing is doing better on DistroWatch than Ubuntu Studio, than FreeNAS. I mean, come on. That is some serious out of nowhere success.
Right?
I'm impressed. I want to see more from this stuff. And now if you're the guy or one of the guys behind Pingy OS, we'd love to hear from you about what it is you're doing, what your plans are.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go to GNOME 3? Like, what is it that's going to make
Are
Pingy
you going to go
OS
to GNOME 3? It's a good question.
really interesting going forward? I mean, is this a one-off? I mean, what are you guys doing here? We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line.
They're using the Mint update manager, which I talked about last episode.
So great.
I like this. I really feel like this is the best of Ubuntu. This is the best of Mint.
Smashed
Plus all
together.
of those tools like Ubuntu Tweak and all of the plugins and the modifications to GNOME.
If you remember from our Mint review, that was my biggest knock on Mint, was it took a couple of the cool things from Ubuntu and stripped it out.
Yeah,
like the
the software store,
Center.
and also Ubuntu One is nice, and this is in here
Exactly.
too. And essentially, they're just not. There's no, and I don't want to say Mint has an agenda, but maybe Mint has an agenda not to get locked into anything.
Everyone has an agenda. There's nothing wrong with an agenda. It's fine. If Mint has a particular thing they want to accomplish, it's cool. But I love seeing an OS like this that takes the really the best with no hidden agendas at all.
It's just like-
this is what he thinks is the best.
And what I
love that.
think is nice is just Wine software is almost on equal footing with desktop Linux software, which makes people working in the Linux office space a lot smoother of a transition if you have mostly Windows users, including things like, look, when you install a Wine application, it adds it to the menu here, and you can, also include as Wine Tricks, which is a great little Wine configurator program. And you can go in here and you can do things like install apps from scripts, or you can change the way things work. I mean, really, honestly, Brian, you got to check out this OS. You guys have got to go download this distro.
right.
I don't often say you've got to go check out an OS, but at least see what these guys are doing and compare it to what your distro of choice is doing now, and see if maybe there's some difference there. And
This is pretty cool.
yeah. So there you
This
go.
is pretty cool. Now, I don't have to have rotating random pictures, do I?
No.
Okay, good.
Should we roll the dice before we move on? Let's see.
Yeah, let's roll the dice.
All right. So
What are we going to have?
I'm going to click next background. Let's see what we get.
Next background
Survey
and-
says.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Okay,
it for.
That's what we have
Very
for it.
peaceful.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, P-Man. Well, that's our look at Pinguy OS.
Pingy.
Ping-
Pingui. And that brings us to the end of this week's mega spectacular broadcast of power. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, because it was great because you tuned in.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm thanking you.
It probably would have sucked if they hadn't.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
I'm gonna self-promote for a second.
Oh, okay.
You mind?
Brian, if a guy podcasts in the forest and nobody downloads, did he actually podcast?
Well, based on how many ridiculous podcasts that no one listens to there are, I'd say yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Earlier this week.
So like Monday,
This-
Tuesday?
This last week.
Oh, this last week.
This last week.
Okay, the one we just got
The
done
one
with.
we just did.
Yeah.
You know what happened this last week?
What?
I released a new version of Illumination.
Oh, grats, man.
Version 3.2 came out for Linux, of course,
Where
and
would I
also those other
find
platforms.
such an amazing product like that, Brian?
Over at radicalbreeze.com.
Radical Breeze. So that's like a place where maybe I get like a great fan or
That's
something.
where you get the best fan.
It's summertime, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you. Anyway,
yeah.
this version, no new platforms. We didn't add support for Pinguy OS. Well, then we can already buy it in Pinguy
Well,
OS.
yeah, I mean, it already has support
yeah.
because it's Linux.
But we basically added things like new dictionary variable types and new functionality and stuff like that to basically make it so you can make more powerful applications than before. So
Yeah.
that's all it was for.
Awesome, man.
Bunch of bug fixes, pretty cool release. If you bought it from the Ubuntu Software Center, we're still waiting for that to get updated. Thus is the life
Of a
of
software store.
software stores, man. I tell you, I can't tell you how many people email me with I downloaded the latest version from your website, radicalbreeze.com, and it says I need a code. I already bought it though, and I'm like, well, what do you mean you already bought it though? Then just type in the little code I gave you.
Yeah, because if
and,
you bought it, you got a
if you
code.
bought it, you get a custom email that's like, you're super special, and here's the code.
Yeah.
Then they're like, well, here's the email, and they'll send me the email. They'll get an email from Canonical saying you purchased it. I have no control over that. I can't even see who purchased stuff through the stores. Canonical is getting better and better. They have
That's good.
they have a new developer center now.
That's good.
That I'm in the beta
It's
of.
funny, though, that they would be even
But
kind of a
nothing.
problem at all with getting your update on there when it's kind of all based on, like we talked about in the last episode,
Like a
PPAs.
But there's the thing. So I can upload to a PPA right away. But it's still
They gotta-
be
they gotta
approved.
submit it, yeah.
And then on top of that, they've got to make it so it's all moved over and
Do
available.
they
from the
actually
store.
approve it? Do they actually-
Yes. Yeah, they do. I mean, they're cooler about it though. The Canonical guys are really cool. They're like, you know what? We're gonna do a quick sanity check to make sure that there's no like exploding on your system.
That's good.
Basically, it seems like what they do is not so much checking to see if my app is good, but checking to see if it's going to instantly destroy everything. It's not gonna sudo RMF your entire system. Yeah.
Well, there you go, B-Man. So that's cool. Go check that out.
So go check that out, and it should be available to all you Ubuntu software store users, hopefully very shortly.
I want to say
and the Mac Store people too, but
I'll do a self-plug. I was tongue-in-cheek about it last week. I talked a bit about Bitcoin on our episode 9, I think, of TechSnap.
Yeah.
The one that just came out last Friday.
Yeah,
we went into Bitcoin, so if you're interested in Bitcoin or been curious what the F it even
is,
go check out that episode.
Honestly, I watched that episode.
Yeah.
Still don't understand Bitcoin.
I thought we did a pretty good job.
You totally did. Like, I watched it and I was like, well, this makes more sense than their website and their Wikipedia page. If I were Bitcoin, I would just embed that video on their front page.
What I am proud about...
I still look at it, I'm like, I still doesn't quite connect with me. I don't know what
I listed 3 things in that episode that I think are major hurdles for Bitcoin to get over and that I think could be serious trouble for the Bitcoin economy. And then... one of them happened on Friday, the day the episode came out. I'm not saying I caused it. I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying I totally called it. So you can check that out.
Honestly, the chat room's like Brian Coins, Lunda Coins. I think that's a great idea. I was talking with Chris about this the other day, and because I think the idea of a Bitcoin is ridiculous. It's a currency. It's a currency not backed by anything.
It's a cryptocurrency.
It's a crypto. It's not. That doesn't mean anything. Cryptocurrency.
It means that it's mined from doing math.
I know, but what I think there should be a Brian-based currency.
Yeah, dude.
Where here's what you do. You go to something like getbriancoins.com or whatever.
I think Brian Coins. Let's see if that's available.
You click a button. Boom. You send money to me. Via PayPal or something like that, right? And what I'll do is I will send you an email, if I feel like it, that says, I officially grant you X number of Brian Coins.
I got great news. BrianCoins.com is available. Use the code Linux, Brian.
And then if you want to make a transaction with Brian Coins, you don't actually do the transaction yourself, because Brian Coins...
it's an automated system.
Well,
for you,
technically
not for
existing
him.
In a bank.
No.
All Brian Coins are based on
commitment.
The good word of Brian.
Yeah.
So what'll happen is you'll go, you know what? I want to buy a piece of software from Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, I want to buy your box copy of SUSE 9.
Okay.
Give me that old box copy of SUSE 9.
Brian, that's going to be 3 Brian Coins.
That's going to be 3 Brian Coins. So then what you do is you and Chris will both email me saying, hey, we're both doing this transaction. And I'll be like, great. Teddy,
you now have 3 Brian.
You have 3 Brian Coins that came from Chris.
Or something like that.
Right.
Boy, you're going to mess that up. Because I was supposed to get the coins.
But here's the thing. No guarantees that I won't mess it up. And I'm going to be clear that I am not keeping track. It's all up here.
Yeah.
I am going on assumption, goodwill, and let's call it best practices.
That is just like Bitcoin now that you explain it.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same deal.
Just like that, Brian.
Yeah.
Just like that. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode.
I'm going to be rich.
Dude, Brian Coins going to win.
Brian Coins is going to be huge.
I hope we have BrianCoins.com by the end of the next episode.
The first worldwide Brian-based currency in
that's right.
history.
Because a Brian coin in the UK is worth just as much as a Brian coin in the US.
Well, no.
Oh.
Let's not get all crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Brian Coins here in the US... you get an extra 10% on your Brian Coins.
Oh.
Which, by the way, when I say 10%, that's not an actual number.
Do I have to use the code Linux?
That's 10% in Brian percentage, which means whatever I want it to mean at the given point in time that I mean that I said it.
This is a gangbusters economy. I can't wait to invest.
It can't go wrong.
Let's wrap this up so I can get some money set aside to invest in Brian Coins.
I'm going to put a chart on there.
Yeah.
It's going to show Brian Coins in 2000 and Brian Coins in 2011. It's going to go straight up. Boom. This is how much it's worth. And there's going to be no numbers on the chart. No. Either way. On the bottom, there's a date. But along here, no numbers. It's not like it goes from 0 to 100 or anything. It just goes from down there
to up there.
To up here.
But that's a way good positive trend.
In fact,
the Brian coin is a positive trend.
That's how I'm going to label it. Down there, up here, according to Brian.
Yeah.
Little asterisk down at the bottom.
Like
Brian Coins.
Why not? There you go. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching this week's episode.
I'm going to run that website on Linux.
Of course you will.
That's
and we'll see you next Sunday.
I was trying to find a way to make that Linux Action Show relevant. You see how I did that?
Running on Linux.
I snuck that in there.
Well, you can check your email on Linux.
You're welcome. See, if I sit like this, no one sees the penis. Don't do that. Bring it back. No.
Wait, hold on.
Everyone goes for the achoo. That's such an obvious choice, guys.
It's too hard. It's too much work. This is not worth it. Okay.
Oh, everything is bad. Everything is bad.